We are going to tear this Jeep down.
Beat down.
What's up, guys? It's Vince from Palm Beach Jeep Club and Brave Art Restoration, and welcome to part 1 of the 2000 Cherokee restoration. I'm going to start tearing this thing apart. We're going to go over what it needs, and in the series I plan to show you how to do the things I'm doing, but then again, most of the stuff, especially the body work, I'm learning as we go. So I'm going to try to explain it to you in the way that I interpret it. I'm not a professional by any means, so feel free to correct me and throw me some suggestions in the comments as we go, so that I could learn as well. But this is mainly just to document the whole rebuilding of this Jeep. As we can tell, it needs a lot of work. I went over it in the previous video, kind of just a general walk around, but we're going to start tearing this thing apart, and I could show you guys kind of what's going on here. So the really cool thing about this Jeep is the more that I look at it, the more aftermarket stuff I find. Just for starters, as you can see in the last video, the interior is aftermarket. Somebody put custom leather interior in, front and back, and it's upholstered. It's not just a vinyl seat cover. The more I look at it here, we have a K&N cold air intake. They just wrapped up so there's no water in it. There's just a bunch of stuff going on here. Electric E-fan. There's a bunch of receipts for water pump, thermostat. That all looks new. The battery's new, but I think it's probably no good from the accident. Slotted rotors. That's pretty cool. Rancho shocks. It's got an add-a leaf in the rear. Upper and lower control arms are aftermarket. So all the aftermarket stuff does add up, and it's really cool. So that's why I think when this thing is done, it's going to be a really cool Jeep. Actually, this looks like a lift spring. These look aftermarket as well. It probably has a 3-inch lift on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this all undone. I've never dealt with a car that's mangled, so this is going to be interesting, to say the least. So, right off the bat, I can tell you this, I might be able to bend back. The radiator core support. The radiator looks pretty bad. I can't tell if it's actually cracked, but I'm not going to take the risk. We're going to need a front panel. This bumper is going to go because it's mangled up. It's going to need a regular bumper. It's going to need a fender for sure. And I think we're going to need the apron here. Well, we're going to need the apron here. As far as this apron, I think we're okay for now from what I could see. So I'm going to start tearing this stuff apart. I'm going to try to pull this out somehow. So that I have a little bit more room to work with, but I think I'm going to start with getting this brush guard off and then go from there. We are going to tear this Jeep down. My goal by the end of the day is to have a bunch of the sheet metal off and a parts list of stuff that I'm going to have to go to the junkyard and get. That way I can do that on my next day off, and this project really won't take that long. The hardest part is going to be having to weld everything together. But I'm going to put you guys back on the tripod and get to work. pulling it didn't go totally as planned, but it definitely helped. I snapped where I was pulling at, which I kind of expected, but it helped. So I think I'm just gonna keep hooking the strap up and slowly keeping some pressure on it, and see what I can do. But sorry for knocking you guys over. I kind of knew that was gonna happen. So this is my first time ever really pulling a frame or a body part or anything. I know that I should probably have this secured better than a hook, but I'm really not putting that much pull on it. I'm basically just keeping tension. I'm just taking my foot off the brake of the truck and letting it slowly pull. I'm just using the other Jeep to slowly pull this out. We definitely made progress because I wasn't able to get this battery out, and now I have a little bit of wiggle room. So we pulled it out a little bit. I'm just slowly keeping on at it, just trying to find a couple little places to pull from, and just slowly pulling it. From what I've gathered, the best thing to do for pulling any sort of the body part is to pull from the area at which it was hit. So if the vehicle is hit how this one was hit, I'm pulling forward at an angle almost matching the path the vehicle took in the accident, so that it pulls everything back out the same way, and I'm not bending things different ways. This is coming out anyway, it's getting cut out, so it really doesn't matter how much I pull it in the correct direction because it's not going to be repaired. The hole inside apron is physically just beyond repair. So I'm just going to pull this out, and then I'm going to get a whole new apron to weld in. So I'm just going to keep pulling a little bit, just enough for me to be able to start undoing some of the parts on this. That way I could try to get take a look at the apron and see how everything's going. I can tell that there are some crushed pieces here and there. As you can see, there's a couple little things that are bent and broken and whatnot. There is, what's really cool, my friend Ryan pointed this out to me. This is a variable speed electric fan, an aftermarket that somebody put in the front, so I could actually adjust how I want the fan to operate. But yeah, some of the stuff in here I'm kind of worried about. The hood latch looks like a spaghetti noodle. It's bent all the way around here. I stabbed myself. There's a broken piece of electronics in there. You probably can't see it because of the lighting right now, but yeah, there's some broken electronics in here. I'm not sure what they're for. Man. So I'm definitely gonna have to inspect everything. I'm gonna keep those for reference for later. So like I said, this is really my first collision car. I did a little bit of collision repair, if you will, on the 97 Grand Cherokee that I had, that I ended up selling to Colorado. That one I really didn't go in depth in it. I pulled the subframe out as much as I could, pretty much just enough to put bumpers and everything back on in the front where it looked right. So I'm just gonna keep pulling this. The car's running. We'll get at it. Sorry guys. That one really did a good job. It's freed up this whole area and basically separated the fender from the subframe here. I can unbolt the rest of this, which is good now, and then I could actually probably pull the fender off. So I'm just gonna have to yank from the subframe here, but I've pretty much freed up the battery now. Created a lot of room in the front, so I'm just gonna keep pulling trying to find, oh, there's a broken vacuum line there. I'm just gonna have to keep pulling and try to find a couple good places to mount the hook. That way we can just keep on going and I can take this apart. At this point, what I think would be best is if I did unbolt this bumper from the front here and peel it back until I could take it completely off. Because of the way that it hit, it pushed the fender back into the door. From what I could tell, there's no damage to the door, but in order to open the door to get to the other bolts in the door frame, I'm gonna have to pull this fender forward. As you could tell, it shifted. So hopefully when I undo these bolts here, I'll be able to pull this fender off completely, and it'll give me a lot more space to work with, and so I can see what I'm dealing with. But like I said, you can tell this is all crumpled in here in the structure. So hopefully it just didn't damage this piece here, and so far it looks good. So that means I'm really happy, because that is where the spring mounts, that's where the shock support is. So that's a big piece of the subframe. I mean, I have one here for reference, but it's from an early model, so I don't think it fit. But we're basically going to be replacing this part, not that part. So this is spot welded into one piece, but it is two separate pieces. Once I get this apart, I can show you a lot easier. So now that I got the fender off, I could try to get the plastic fender cover off, or the fender well. So now I have a lot more room to see what I'm working with. So now that I got this pretty apart, it's definitely a lot easier to see what's going on here. So this part of the apron looks like, well, the inside part is what matters. This looks good so far. This part of the apron obviously is not, and you can kind of see where the aprons separate. So this is the second part that we're replacing. This part still looks good. As far as the outside, that does not look good, but I can cut it here and weld a new piece in so that everything will be okay, because I really don't want to replace this apron if I don't have to, because it goes into the body and it's just a huge thing. So I'm gonna try to, it's gonna be done right, it's gonna be safe, don't worry, but if I could just replace this piece, like this horn, would be great, because I'm gonna need it up to this part anyway. This is all caved in, but everything underneath, everything structural, definitely looks good. All the shock tower and everything looks good. Nothing looks like it moved, nothing's kinked, so I'm super happy about that. Everything in here looks clean, everything looks good. Doors closed. There's just a little tiny gap here, but it doesn't leak any water or anything. I might just try to readjust the door, but yeah, I mean, everything else sits flush. There's no, you know, it's totally level and good. So, really happy about that. But yeah, some of this stuff in here got crushed. The battery tray is destroyed. The battery is, oh, now it's free. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to pull this stuff apart. I have to put the camera back on the charger. So while I do that, I'm going to tear this apart a little bit, try to pull this out. That way I could get in here a little bit more and take the rest apart. I'm gonna try to get the bumper and stuff off. And yeah, let's just keep this project rolling. Back like I was saying before, as long as you pull in the same direction, you're doing pretty well. Now, I probably could have pulled this back to where it should have been if I had a frame pulling machine and I could pull it up. I might be able to do it with the Bobcat and lift that back up and bend it back in if I really wanted to, and just half-ass it, but I'm not going to because this is a perfect learning experience for me. But also, I mean, this is all rusted through and bent, but you could half-ass it and put that back together, but that's not what I'm going to do. We're making really good progress. I'm surprised we're at where we are right now. So as you can tell, that's where we're going to be, the line at which we're going to be starting to replace things. I'm just going to unscrew the rest of this bracketry and try to get this exposed. That way I could try to cut some of this out maybe today, or at least get it stripped down, get an idea of what I need to buy. I mean, this battery's shot. It looks like something actually is lodged inside the battery, so I have to be extra careful when I pull that out. But so far so good right now. I'm pretty happy with the results. So now, since I got a majority of this all torn apart, I guess I'm going to start tearing apart the front so I can move the radiator, take the battery out, and then I could start exploring what I need to do here once I free up this section. Most of it's already taken out. I just need to pull the radiator out of the fan and things like that. So I'm going to pull this header panel off and see where we're at. I think it'll go. Oh, she's beeping. Alright, she's beeping. Hang on. Yeah, it's beeping. Oh, ah! Turn it off. Right side. Okay, yeah. Turn it off. Fucking pissing. It runs fucking perfect. Sounds good. She got an exhaust on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't rev it, dude. That shit was shooting like to here.
Okay, see it.
Yeah.